So, I mean, basically it's a do-it-yourself style shop, and if you need help, the volunteers are generally qualified to help in most ways. Sometimes people come in and they don't necessarily need help. They know what they're doing, but they need to repair their bike, in which case our tools are available for general use to people. Like, if you don't know how to use something, you're welcome to ask us how to use it, or if it's too time consuming, you basically just have to wait until somebody can help you. Well, Idris and I really like to ride bikes, and then we were like, man, it'd be cool if we could work on bikes. So we started working on them, not really knowing what we were doing, and started kind of collecting a lot of parts.
We were trying to work on bikes in his girlfriend's living room, in Nikki Bruner's living room, and we just didn't really have a lot of luck with doing that, and we tried to start like a small repair shop in the basement of that place.
And it was kind of to the point where both of our respected households were cluttered to hell with parts. Bike frames, parts, wheels, just all sorts of stuff, kind of like this place. And we were helping people fix their bikes just in parking lots and stuff, and like, we didn't, there were no promises because we didn't really know what we were doing.
And then we kind of just started discussing the idea of a collective in Kansas City, and Suzanne Hogan, she had experience with a chain breaker in Santa Fe, and someone introduced us.
Well, I was working at a bike shop in town, and Sean and Idris, two other founding members, came in to the shop and had mentioned wanting to start some type of recycle bicycle or community bike shop. And I had been involved in a community bike shop in New Mexico.
I was like, that there's groups that do what you guys are trying to do, but they like do it in a more formal sort of way. We're like, oh, that's cool.
So we kind of like tossed the idea around a little bit, had some other people involved at that time, and we started meeting and basically decided that we wanted to do it and started looking for a space.
Kirk, who's one of the founding members as well, like kind of told us about this space.
Well, yeah, I used to bike by a lot and see the sign for the Creative Mind Community Arts Center. Wonder what it was all about. So eventually found out and met Harry and got to be on good terms with him. And then when Idris and Sean, Suzanne were serious about starting up, started talking to them because thought it would be a good spot for one.
kind of got the space cleaned out and like did a lot of work, and then a few months later called ourselves a open shop and just kind of went from there.
Yeah, and it took us a long time to get to the process of figuring out like our flow, and we're still figuring it out. But the idea is someone finds us, which can already be a really hard thing because we're tucked away. We're not on a major street. So they find us. The idea is that we have a greeter, and we decide on that at the beginning of our shift of one person who's a member, a key holding member.
Ideally, we have a greeter who's in charge of managing the sign-in sheet to make sure that whoever needs help gets help from the people that are most qualified to help in whatever way that person needs help.
Or have them wait if they need to wait, but just so nobody comes and they're kind of just walking around like, what's going on? Because it's so crazy. It gets crazy here really quickly, and it used to run like that where people were just like, what do I do? People just start grabbing tools, helping themselves, and it just leads to chaos. So we're trying to make it so we have a greeter,
It's first come, first served basis, and basically when somebody's done, they're checked off the list.
And then we are really trying to get people who've been coming here a long time to start helping themselves or to start having them help other people too. Like if a kid comes in with a flat and his friend has a flat and his friend has a flat, well, it's like, all right, you know how to do this. Now I'll give you the tools, you go help your friend fix it. So it's not, we all kind of can help each other and take some of the load off of some of the mechanics.
I moved here last summer, and my girlfriend had a bike without a seat. Someone told me there was this place where you could just go and get free stuff for your bike. So I showed up here in July, and there were a bunch of random kids here, and I grabbed a seat, but I didn't have any money, and they were like, you can either donate or work it off. And so I took the seat and told them I would work it off, came back here and decided I would help out. And then they started telling me about this bike school thing, and they'd like teach me how to fix bikes. Just like, there's a lot of work to be done around here, so I figure I would pitch in.
So yeah, that's how the shop runs. Some days we don't really have a whole lot of people, and on those days we try to organize parts or work on projects or bikes for sale, but most days, especially in the summertime, we have to end up turning people away.
And ideally, we help all the people, and about 5:30, 5:45, we start cleaning up. And however, since the nature of our shop is donation-based, we tend to get a high volume of people on a regular basis, which makes it such that not everybody always gets helped, but we make them aware of that as to not, let anybody get too hopeful. This place, in its current state of progress, really is pretty consuming in that right now we're in the process of trying to move to a new building and trying to restructure ourselves in a way. So
It kind of like branches off into three things: the shop, new building, money.
when we move, something we've talked about is we don't want to take the functional problems we have now with us to a new place.
But that space needs a lot of work. But we can really, take a risk on that space because we own it.
It's in very poor condition. It pretty much needs a new roof, and that costs a lot of money, and we don't have that kind of money. Inherently, based on the kind of work we do, we don't really pull in a lot of money.
We were calling it PR and finances, like in fundraising. Those people would be doing things like researching grants, soliciting donations around the community.
Money is definitely an issue. Like it would probably be somewhere in the range of $50,000 to $100,000 to put a new roof on it and have a contractor and licensed contractor do it.
I would say we're probably looking at 2 years before we could open the shop. Just because I don't think the physical rehabilitation would take 2 years. I think that securing all the funding, allocating it appropriately, will be a little bit more difficult.
The thing is this collective needs a lot of attention right now, especially because we're trying to keep this space running and offering this service, until we move.
we're interested to see it succeed, because if it doesn't, it kind of could mean a lot of, they could present a lot of problems to the collective in the future if it doesn't function.
I mean, we've done a lot of work talking to people in other cities who do this sort of thing, and just long meetings, just trying to figure out what we need to do to make it a more cohesive project.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then there's the bike. It's there's a national and there's a regional bike, and essentially it's a conference for all collectives or cooperatives or aspiring cooperatives to kind of come together and share ideas, collaborate.
It's kind of like a think tank of community bike shop organizers and volunteers. And we got a lot of our ideas from there, and we've also given a lot of ideas there.
These projects are really easy to start up. It just takes a little initiative, and by no means do we want to be the only bike collective in this city, so.
Because in fall, we get a lot of Art Institute people in here, and it would be cool if there was another place. UMKC has the hub, and they, you can buy a bike for this season or whatever, and you can get all your repairs done for free and stuff, and it would be cool if the Art Institute could provide that. It's they're pushing gardening and stuff, why not push bicycles too?
I mean, I think the bigger issue about these shops is that this isn't the only community bike shop, in the country or in the world. It's a grassroots movement that's happening in a lot of different capacities and a lot of different places, and every shop has their different model.
What is this? Is this Topeka?
This is Topeka.
All right. 362. Hey.
Yeah, well, I'd always wanted to put some sort of nonprofit bike shop together in Topeka, and had a few ideas about it, and I'd read about them online, and then Robert Fitzgerald came to town, got involved with Critical Mass. Yeah. He was interested in getting it going, so I pointed him to this space, and he got a lease agreement signed, and started the ball rolling. Well, this space is owned by the Friends of the Free State Society, and they own Constitution Hall, which is 2 doors down. And that building is where the Topeka Constitution was written. They weren't getting people in and out of here. They weren't, people weren't learning about Constitution Hall from this space. And so they offered this whole building to us at a really, really nice rate. Well, it's a ton of room. It's 7,000 square feet, which we're really pleased to have. We can store hundreds and hundreds of bikes here, and we're not even full. We could take more.
We have them kind of separated out by cruisers. There's banana seats down there, more cruisers. These are all Erna bikes. These are all our kids' bikes. Kids' bikes breakdown. There's more work bikes that you'll see at the very back that are going a different direction. And all this stuff here on the left is stuff to be processed that we've just gotten in.
We have room for various projects. We have room when we do a big breakdown. We can fill up the stands and we can break down 6 bikes at once if we have enough people to do it.
And then as for the education stuff, we have what do we call it? Kind of a bike breakdown nights where we've got the bikes that are maybe a little rougher, but we can still use the parts off them. We'll take them out here and we'll break them down.
As far as location, it's also really good. We're downtown, so we're fairly central as far as the distribution of the city. We're not far from the rescue mission, which is really good.
We've had quite a bit of community interaction with different, we've donated some bikes to the rescue mission for kids and stuff. We've Been to the county fair with, advocating for bike stuff. We've gone to different, they had like a couple different schools had different health events and stuff, and we go out to that and kind of advertise the programs that we offer.
And I tell everybody I know about the bike project because, like I said, it's a great place to be. It's a great place to hang out. If nothing else, it's a cool place to kill a couple hours once a week.
It's a lot more important to be that resource in the community. It's important to to have the tools and have the stands so people can come in and use those and learn, and not be afraid of the technology and their bicycle anymore. So
It's all donations, all volunteer organization. All the tools, all the bikes, everything. It's been donated.
volunteers can put in 10 hours of time in the shop doing, working on whatever. Any project that happens to be going on, whether we're moving 100 bikes to one section of the shop, or whether we're cleaning up, or whether we're building a room or something like that. People can contribute to that effort and then earn credit toward a bike in the shop.
I just finished my second Earn a Bike, so I've actually acquired 2 bicycles from here for myself. I've also had the opportunity to get some friends of mine and have their children brought in so that they could get bikes because they didn't have any. I'd like to see this place stay open, whether I'm here or not. I've been able to, like I say, pass on the knowledge that I have about bicycles. One of my brothers nicknamed me the bikeologist.
You definitely learn from the different processes of taking things apart and kind of learning to identify the different parts and stuff like that. And I think it's been a real beneficial process for just about everybody who's been involved.
Well, it's been far beyond most of our expectations. We've had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers come in, spending thousands of hours of volunteer time here. We've managed to stay open 2 days a week, every week.
So I try to stop at other community bike shops and bike collectives and pick up little ideas. It wasn't a huge influence, but at least to see how other people ran theirs and how they were organized and how their space was just organized was a big thing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'd read about the 816 collective in Kansas City, and we actually made sort of a field trip last summer. A lot of TCCP folks loaded up in a couple of cars and brought all our bikes with us and went and visited them. Went up for their fundraiser show.
No, I wanted to come check it out. Downtown Topeka.
And they have a little bit different mission. They work a little bit differently than we do, and that's cool. They are more about getting people bikes right away, and we are more about getting people to get into the mechanics of bicycle repair. We're also really blessed to have this shop. We have a ton of space. We have a lot more space than they do.
Oh, it's prime spot downtown and huge space. It's awesome.
We infrequently, or maybe frequently, you can argue that we are without electricity. So sometimes when we're without electricity, some of this shop is closed down and we'll stay outside. And that's normally during the summer. But yeah, the only time we close down this shop is when inclement weather, and under 20 degrees, like physically puts us out. Or
when it rains outside, it rains in here, we don't have heat. We're like trying to fix bikes and hold wrenches and our hands are freezing. It's cold, it's freezing in here. It sucks. Like, we get really frustrated with this space. We're not like rich, and some of us put our own money into it just like for the cause, but just because we want to see this thing be around for a long time.
I would say that the new building might be in worse shape than this one.
being kind of hectic and cold and trying to think about this new building, we've put Build-A-Bikes on hiatus just because it's becoming really overwhelming.
You know, we spent seriously everything we have on a building that's like more busted than this. You know, when we get stressed out about the ways we're failing the organization in some capacity, it's something that we need to remind ourselves we're doing a really good job, you know, with a really challenging space. So yeah, this whole shop, I feel like, you know, as much as it can be a frustrating place to be, is a super accomplishment itself. Community bike shops are important for lots of reasons. I mean, one, when you think about like when you got a bike, like what a bike means to people, it means a lot of things. Like a bike is not just a toy. A bike is like, it's like freedom when you're a kid, you know?
And what's really encouraging is when we see a work bike go out, you know, someone needs a work bike to, you know, to get to a job interview. And then I'm out and about in the community and I see that bike locked up somewhere. You know, I see it at a place of employment. You know, if we've contributed to a handful of people getting jobs, that's huge. I mean, you know, we didn't really plan on being an economic development engine, but I think we could be.
There's a need, there's somewhat of a demand. Otherwise there wouldn't be like 120 or 130 of these projects operating across the country. So like in a sense they are providing like a real resource.
A lot of people come in from really like violent situations in their house home or like in their communities, and when they come here we try to make this kind of a peaceful space. So this community bike shop is kind of like a place where we can all kind of meet on the same level, work on bikes, and like we all get something out of it.
You know, if I can teach somebody something, it makes me feel better. And that's the main reason why I got involved, is so that I can pass on the knowledge that I have.
I've learned how to true wheels, learned how to take apart bottom bracket and crankset, learned how to fix your brakes.
It does create a sense of community. Like we've got kids helping old people, you know. A lot of people coming here can't believe that a girl can fix a bike, and I've watched it humble people to, you know, take the time to learn something, you know, from a kid who's younger than them, you know. It's community bike shops bring a lot of people together from all different areas around one thing, you know, a bike. If we can have people coming in and feeling empowered about not only just the act of getting to where they need to get around town, but also feeling confident in their abilities to be able to fix that very thing, it's like a really empowering thing for people, I think.
It's who we are, it's what we do. 3 to 6.